The peach cobbler was still warm when the fever struck. 6 people in the Oyster Bay house went down within days, vomiting, burning up, Sunday dinner curdling in their stomachs. The banker had installed modern plumbing, filtered water, a spotless kitchen. No reason for typhoid here. Yet it tore through the family like fire in dry grass. Mary Mallon kept working through it all. She stirred broth for the sick, wiped her hands on her apron, never took to bed herself. She had never had typhoid. She never would. A sanitary engineer named George Soper arrived to hunt the source. He tested the well water, inspected the privy, checked the milk delivery. Every trail went cold. Then he asked, who had joined the household just before the outbreak? The cook. When Soper traced her previous jobs, he found the same pattern again and again: fine houses, clean conditions, then sudden typhoid. A woman who never showed a single symptom was carrying death in her hands. Soper stood in the empty Oyster Bay kitchen, a list of names in his hand, multiple households. At each one, Mary Mallon had arrived with her recipes, and within weeks the fever had followed. A banker, a lawyer, a widowed socialite, clean houses, modern plumbing, no common source except the cook who moved between them. Soper mapped her path like a general tracking an invisible army. Dozens sick, at least 3 dead. No one had connected the dots because no one had thought to look at a healthy woman. Mary arrived. Typhoid bloomed. Mary left. She was the thread running through every outbreak, invisible and unblamed. But knowing where she had been did not explain what she was. The medical textbooks offered no chapter for a woman who hosted an army of bacteria, yet marched on untouched. What fortress in her gut let Salmonella typhi multiply and escape while her own blood stayed cool and clear? That question would draw Soper toward a confrontation neither of them was ready for. Soper found her in a kitchen, sleeves rolled, a roast on the block. He told her she carried typhoid, though she'd never felt a symptom. He needed blood, stool, proof of what his map already showed. Mary stared. Then she grabbed a carving fork. She'd never been sick. Not once. The idea was an insult, a man's lie dressed in science. She drove Soper backward through the pantry door. He retreated to the street, the fork still quivering in her grip. The health department sent no more gentlemen. Dr. Sarah Josephine Baker came with police at her back. Mary fought them too. They took her anyway. A healthy woman never warned, now a prisoner of her own body. The city had decided. One woman's freedom was the price of public safety. The ferry churned through the East River toward a low, flat island dotted with hospital buildings and a lighthouse pointing nowhere. Mary Mallon sat between 2 officers, still insisting she'd never been sick. The quarantine fences of Riverside Hospital rose to meet her. Her stool samples teemed with Salmonella typhi, millions of bacteria per gram, yet her body betrayed nothing. No fever, no pain, no warning. She was a walking paradox. Meanwhile, German microbiologists were unraveling the carrier state. Robert Koch had proposed something unsettling. The gallbladder, that small sac beneath the liver, could become a microbial hideout. A healthy organ, quietly storing bile, might also manufacture contagion. Bacteria nested in its walls, slipped into the intestines, then into the world. Mary spent 3 years on that island, cooking for no one, touching no food, her only crime the biology inside her. The city watched and waited, but one question festered. If her gallbladder was the enemy fortress, could medicine storm it, or was she built to spread disease until her final day? In 1910, the city let her walk free. Mary stepped off North Brother Island with one condition: never cook again. She found work as a laundress. scrubbing linens in damp basements for wages that barely fed her. The bleach cracked her hands. She had once commanded sauces for the wealthiest tables in New York. Now she stood in steam and poverty, invisible and forgotten. The bacteria in her gallbladder did not care. They simply kept marching out, day after day, waiting. 5 years passed. Then Mary made a choice that would rewrite everything. She took a false name and walked into a kitchen again. This time, it was Sloan Maternity Hospital in Manhattan, a place of new mothers and fragile infants. The typhoid found them within weeks. At least 2 people died. The pattern George Soper had traced was repeating in a house of healing. And the same question that had festered on the island now screamed across the headlines. If a known carrier could not be trusted, if freedom for one meant death for strangers, what price was society willing to pay? They found her in a hospital kitchen, peeling potatoes with the same steady hands that had served peach ice cream to bankers' daughters. She did not run. The handcuffs clicked shut, and Mary Mallon returned to North Brother Island in autumn 1915. She would never leave. 23 years. She washed linens, tended boilers, moved through wards as both prisoner and employee. Staff called her Typhoid Mary to her face. Visitors came with notebooks, not sympathy. She was a living laboratory, proof that a person could carry death inside them for a lifetime without feeling its heat. Science watched her through a one-way mirror. Journals published her stool counts. Reformers argued her liberty against the bodies she left behind. Mary grew old in the same rooms while the city across the water debated whether she was victim or weapon, whether her isolation was protection or punishment in white coats. She died in November 1938, alone but for bacteria still marching through her gallbladder. The question of her freedom had ended, yet her body held secrets the living had not unlocked, and the cells in her liver were still manufacturing weapons that could kill. In the island mortuary, pathologists opened Mary's abdomen. The small pear-shaped organ came out wet and dark. They already knew her gallbladder, no larger than a plum, had been the factory floor for decades. Live salmonella, typhi swarmed its walls, bacteria still dividing, still armed, in a woman 3 days dead. The same microbes that had ridden her hands into kitchens, into hospital food, into mouths she never saw. Mary had insisted to the end that she never had typhoid, never would. She was not wrong in what she felt. She was wrong in what she carried. The autopsy proved what George Soper had chased through brownstones and aliases. A healthy body could be a permanent reservoir, a silent well poisoning everyone who drank nearby. 3 to 5 in every 100 survivors become carriers like her. Their gallbladders transformed into bunkers the immune system cannot clear. Mary Mallon had been imprisoned for 26 years for a condition no doctor could cure, no patient could detect, no law yet understood. Her cells manufactured weapons she could not feel. She died believing herself innocent. The bacteria in her liver proved she was something worse, guilty without intent, dangerous without warning, the face of a threat medicine had no name for. The pathologists sealed their report, the city filed it away. But the question remained, if one woman's hidden cargo could rewrite what it means to be sick, what else was walking undetected through the crowds she once served? Mary Mallon's body gave the answer her words never could. The bacteria in her gallbladder proved what medicine refused to believe. A person could look well, feel well, and still seed epidemics with every meal they served. George Soper's hunt forced textbooks to name the invisible, the asymptomatic carrier, a healthy face hiding deadly cargo. 3 to 5 in every 100 typhoid survivors carried this same burden. Their bodies transformed into permanent supply depots for an enemy they never knew they harbored. Public health gained a weapon and a wound. Health departments began tracing outbreaks through kitchens, but they also began locking up the healthy for the crime of infection without knowledge. Mary spent 26 years on North Brother Island for a condition no one could cure. Her freedom traded for strangers' safety. Her name turned into a warning. The lighthouse there still stands, its beam replaced now by tests and trackers that find hidden threats faster. Yet the question her cage raised still waits at every quarantine door. How much of one person can you take to save many? The science has grown precise. The answer has not.